Hello and welcome to Ukrainian Flames, special project by Ukraine Crisis Media-Center, NGO Euro-Atlantic Course and Analytical Center of Ukrainian Catholic University. My name is Victoria Zabian. I'm head of the UCMC Press Center. Please like, share this video and subscribe our channel to stay tuned. Today we're going to talk about sanctions again. This topic remains up to date, not even since February 24, but since 2014. During the last months, Ukraine sees and appreciates efforts of our international partners who impose sanctions, but it is the fact that they are not enough. We asked experts what sanctions against Russia are necessary for Ukrainian victory and ready to share them with you. Геннадій Чижиков, president of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Ukraine, underlines that Ukraine already wins this war, but we still need the help of the rest of the civilized world. And he encourages our international partners not to be afraid to strengthen sanctions.
Ukraine's victory is inevitable. However, this victory is not earned by Ukrainians alone. This victory requires all of us, democratic and free nations, to come together. Ukrainian victory needs you, our partners and allies. In the last days of this war, we have seen all the support that's poured in from you. We are grateful to all of the countries of the world that have imposed tough sanctions against Russia since the beginning of the invasion. But as you all know, the war in Ukraine has been going on for the past 8 years. And our experience and history show that restrictions imposed on the Russia as an aggressor since 2014 have not prevented Moscow from invading our land once again. But when the sanctions are all-encompassing and tough, when they can have a huge impact. Whenever we show weakness, when we leave room for loopholes or roll back the sanctions, we do the opposite. We empower and embolden Russia and its regime. The sanctions need to be very strong and sustained over a long time so that every person in Russia experiences them. Our consolidated forces as democratic society can stop Putin and his criminal state if we come together and enact a full economic blockade. More specifically, we absolutely must enact a complete trade blockade and a full embargo of Russia's energy. This is the only way to save Europe. Every government and every European enterprise must take a stand and refuse to work with Russia. Any trade or partnership with Russia puts money directly into the pockets of Putin's army, the army that enact horrific crimes in Ukraine. I ask all of you, please stop financing Putin's war. We must act now. We must act together. The faster we act, the more chances we have at saving Europe from Putin. I ask you, please be brave and take a stand. Join the economic blockade against Russia to save Ukraine and all of Europe.
Oleksiy Honcharенko, Ukrainian MP, says that two main types of sanctions that Ukraine needs is complete embargo for Russian energy and a real cut of Russia from SWIFT, because still some Russian banks have access to international finance system. Let's take a look.
Hello, my name is Oleksiy Goncharenko, a member of the Parliament of Ukraine and member of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. And speaking about what sanctions should be imposed on Russia to stop this awful war and war crimes and genocide against Ukrainians, we have a number of issues, but I will be very short and precise. First of all, weapons is the most needed. Even Josep Borrell already accepted that the future and the result of this war will be on the battlefield and not in the diplomatic negotiations, peace negotiations. Unfortunately, we want peace, but Putin unfortunately understands only strength. And speaking about sanctions, what can really stop Putin? That are important things which can prevent him and which can make him impossible to afford anymore this war. This is a ban on Russian oil and gas, because oil and gas together they make half of Russia's state budget revenues and 2/3 of export. So absolute complete ban on Russian oil and gas. That's what should be imposed now. And second thing is cut off Russia from SWIFT, real cut off, because it was said in the beginning of this war that this sanction was imposed, but unfortunately it was not in reality, because only 7 Russian banks, again 7, which makes only 15% of Russian financial system, were cut off, were disconnected from the SWIFT system, from the international system of financial transactions. And if we want really to disconnect Russia financial system and Russian economy from the world, we need to make the full SWIFT disconnection of all Russian banks. If we will leave just one Russian bank, it will give them a possibility, a leak through which they will try to continue their operation. So full cut-off from SWIFT. Once again, full embargo on Russian oil and gas and full cut-off from SWIFT. That's what should be done. Thank you so much.
We asked Dmytro Boyarchuk, Executive Director of Case Ukraine, to provide more detailed analysis on economic and financial sanctions that can be imposed for Russia. When it becomes possible to completely block the Russian banking system from international finance, why it is important for Ukraine, and what will be the effect. Why are sanctions being imposed on individual Russian banks gradually? Are there any mechanisms for Russia to avoid financial and economic sanctions, and how can this mechanism be eliminated? Watch in the following video.
So the overall blockade of the Russian banking system, why it's important, and what might be the effect. The story is that Russia is good make money for their own. So more restrictions are imposed. Civilized counterparts refuse to buy Russian commodities, but still they will be able to sell. They still will be able to export various goods abroad, like grains, oil, and natural gas. So Russia will be able to make money anyway. And when we talk about blockade of banking system, this measure is needed to restrict any possibilities for Russian economy to use their money they earn for any possibilities, for any purchase of goods and services. So we cannot totally exclude Russia from the world economy, because there will be such countries as China, India, and may be some other countries that will remain ready to pay Russia for their goods, for their energy exports. But what the civilized world can do, it could switch off Russian banks from SWIFT, and it will impose serious restrictions on the economy for purchasing on any goods and services they need. So that is the idea, that is the measure. It will restrict possibility for Russia to buy, to import any commodities, or to buy any services to continue this war, and to maintain its economy on some more or less normal level of operation. Why sanctions are introduced gradually? There are two reasons. The first reason is because it's a kind of strategy of leaving some room for maneuver for Russia, because if all sanctions are imposed at once, then Moscow will be cornered, and in this position they might become quite desperate, and they might start nuclear strike, for instance. So this strategy presumes that sanctions are introduced step by step, leaving some room for maneuver to deter Moscow from more aggressive actions. But as we see, this strategy doesn't work. The second reason, Western partners, Western countries are not, they also feel negative consequences from those sanctions, and they need time to adjust. And an excellent example is potential moratorium on exports of oil and gas from Russia to European countries. European countries are not ready for this step because they are totally dependent, not totally, but to a large extent depend on natural gas supplies from Russia. So these are the two main reasons why sanctions are introduced gradually, step by step. Are there any ways to overcome sanctions? Sure, any country can survive even under heavy sanctions. We know the story of Iran. Iran was able to keep living, if we may say so, even under heavy sanctions from all leading economies. But the point is that it's a strategy of survival. You cannot develop when you face sanctions from civilized world. You can survive. The country will survive, but the country will be depressed and no development on the horizon of decades. So you can overcome, but it means nothing if you plan some development for your country, for your nation.
The international community is very much saying that sanctions imposed on Russia for a full-scale invasion to Ukraine are unprecedented. At the same time, World Bank experts estimate that Russia's GDP will fall by 11.2% in 2022 due to sanctions imposed by Western countries. Investments will decrease by 16.9%, exports of goods and services by 30.9%, imports by 35.2%. Honestly, a fall of GDP on 11.2% per year for Ukrainians does not look like a real punishment for a brutal aggressor, but like a half measure. Ivana Klimpush-Tsintsadze, Ukrainian MP, visited towns near Kyiv, which were occupied by Russian army for months. Together with her Ukrainian and European colleagues, she saw the results of Russian so-called liberation of Ukrainian citizens, ruined houses, destroyed roads, and scared civilians. She said that all these are additional arguments for the whole world to put more sanctions on Russia. Let's watch her emotional message on the background of burned tank.
Насправді, тільки тоді, коли ти побачив це на власні очі, і навіть не через екран телевізора, і не через фотографії, тоді я переконана, що з'являються додаткові аргументи в наших усіх партнерів стосовно того, як добитися додаткової допомоги Україні у вигляді зброї, у вигляді санкцій, у вигляді непрощення Росії за її злочини на нашій землі. Очевидно, що місця для компромісу після цих звірств, які принесли на нашу землю російські орки, в нас просто не залишається. Ми маємо просто перемогти. В нас немає іншого варіанту вижити.
You've been watching Ukraine in Flames, special project by Ukraine Crisis Media Center, NGO Euro-Atlantic Course and Analytical Center of Ukrainian Catholic University. In description to this video, you can find information about how personally you can help Ukraine against Russian aggression. Everything is gonna be Ukraine.